over the last couple of months, and Alex seeing this, like when I talk a lot about like manifestation or abundance and this idea, and recently we've had a lot of stuff come at us at once, and he's like, oh, like I think this is like what you mean, right? Like all of this stuff is kind of like showing up, so it's been interesting.
Listen, I was never an anti-manifester. I want to make that clear. I was just, my attitude about that stuff is like, I don't know, maybe. I
think there's a lot of critics and
I wouldn't even say a critic or a cynic. I would more so just say I personally hadn't had any specific moments in my life that made me feel like, oh, that's, I never really spent the time thinking about it critically. And my attitude with manifesting is kind of like, when you're thinking about buying a specific new car, you start to notice that car everywhere, right? So it's, and maybe that's just confirmation bias. Maybe it is the universe playing the Sims game of your life. But
your subconscious is the one that decides which car to look out for. Like you set that standard for yourself. So you could see yourself in a Prius, or you could dream really big and be like, no, I want to get a fucking Lambo. And then that decides actually which car you're noticing. So yes, it's all mumbo jumbo and like you can notice whatever you want to notice, but you also have so much more control of your life than you think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I think now more than ever, with the way the world is, that's exactly what we need. I mean, I know I feel like so much is out of our control with everything these days, So
the only thing we can control is ourselves, and manifesting is all about controlling your minds, which then generates your thoughts, and then your thoughts generates your actions, and then your actions cause the thing that you want. And then you are living your dream.
Well, that's what I think is so great, because that's like I think you had the car example, right? Because when RIP to our honeymoon that is now going to have to happen at some other point. But I know it's fine. It'll all work out, But
we're gonna do a mini moon in Joshua Tree or something.
But at any rate, we were like gonna rent a Jeep and like go all around like the different islands of Hawaii and do all sorts of stuff. So when we had brought that into our awareness, then we started seeing these like really cool Jeeps everywhere. So that was like an example that I showed him, and he was like, I feel like I see them everywhere now. I'm like, you don't. They've always been there, but now you've called them into your awareness.
Looking for them.
And so that's why, and then, I would love to give you the floor to kind of like really talk all about this for people who might not understand it. Although if they listen to this podcast, they've gotten a handful of it just from me. But like, that's what I always say. Like, I feel like a lot of my work in the space of like spirituality and self-empowerment is that exactly of like, there's all of this identity around and like ways that people connect to manifestation. And sometimes if it's like connected to like witchcraft or like woo-woo or yoga, like there's all different ways to look at it. And what I'm always putting out there is like, it's literally making a decision to do something and then like integrating it into first your thought process and then into your actions. And then thus it will materialize if you're doing these things.
Well, I think the issue, or not the issue, the reason I think some folks don't buy into manifesting is I think they have this imagination, like you just sit in your room and you talk to your prayer candle and the universe does the rest. Where someone like me, who's still, I'll say I'm not skeptical, but I'm like skeptical adjacent, right? I'm like, I'm willing to believe that it works. I'm not full in, but I feel like, you know what, regardless, if manifesting puts you in the mindset to work towards your goals and start seeing the path to get to where you need to be, who cares if the universe is doing it or not?
But that's exactly what it is.
Exactly.
It's not
what
like,
it is.
well, wait, so Leah,
let's let
Leah, you tell us.
You're
You
the
tell
expert.
us and walk us through what you're offering.
So now you know our perspective.
Yeah, no, but walk us through like kind of how, because I know this has been a little bit, or at least from what I have seen and been able to like, actually have FaceTime with you of like, this has kind of been something that has been in the works for you, and all the fun stuff with Kevin Smith and all of that. And now you've developed this course. So tell us everything.
Wait, the director?
She's going to tell us.
Sorry.
Yeah. This is great. This is great.
It's all about mindset. Like, I totally hear what you're saying, Alex, but like that literally is what manifestation is. It's taking control of like, oh, I want this thing. Now, how am I going to get this thing? I could do this, this, and this, and like not judging it. So my course, I break it down into 4 weeks, and these are the exact 4 steps that I to get into director Kevin Smith's movie. I tweeted at him for 278 consecutive days to get into his movie.
Nice.
And
hey,
it was
commitment,
like,
you know?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And it was embarrassing. And like some days I really didn't want to do it. But at a certain point, I'd been doing it so long that so many people were like, it's so funny. Like you have to do it until it works. And it worked. I think it's because I had these are the 4 steps, a very specific vision.
Okay.
Very specific. And then the daily action of tweeting at him, it's such a small thing. It took maybe 30 seconds, but I did it every day. And so he noticed. And then a lot of people were copying me, and they would do it for like 4 days and give up.
No one's original in this town, you know?
And then the third is, so this is like saying outwardly to people what you want and why, and not being afraid of that vulnerability and that judgment. And then the 4th is gratitude. So VAAG, VAG.
Okay, I dig it.
That by accident. Like I did not plan that. And then week 4, I was like, oh my God, I just subconsciously made VAG
I think it's great. I mean, it's easy to remember. So wait, say what they stand for again.
Vision, action, accountability, gratitude.
Vision, action, accountability, and gratitude.
No matter how far you get on your journey, or if your manifestation fully comes into fruition or not, you have to have gratitude for yourself and for like how far you've come and the people that have helped you. Like the story with Kevin Smith, it literally feels like I lived a dream. Even when I think about it, it's just so surreal that it all worked, and that I shot Jay and Silent Bob Reboot in New Orleans with Kevin Smith, who's like one of my favorite directors. And he said to me, his last words were, let this be a lesson that perseverance pays off.
Yeah.
Dude, I dig it.
But that's so much of like what I always say is like, it's simply like showing up. Like you're never like, that's the point. Like to Alex, where you were like, some people think you like sit around and you pray to a candle. I'm like, you know what you're going to get if you sit around and pray to a candle? You're going to get a candle that's now been used. And that's it. That's all, that's all you're going to get.
Yeah, right.
Because that's not how it works. I mean, I don't identify that the universe is like this, you know, I don't fully believe that I'm being played like a puppet. I look at it like a video game. And you can play it on this level, you can play it on this level, or you can go all the way to extreme and you can play it on this level. Yeah. Now, there are certain games that like I'm getting better at, and it's almost like, you know, where you die and then you try again.
Like time management. That's a game we play every day.
Well, yeah, but it's like everything that you know, for me personally, that I'm like integrating, which is like just giving myself knowing everything takes more time than you think it's going to.
Yeah.
So like I have very big goals. So a lot of mine is like is mitigating my anger when something isn't materializing as fast as I would like it to, even though I know that like I'm capable of doing that thing. But now go ahead.
Patience is the hardest part about it, because 278 days, that's almost a year.
It's a long time.
I was doing the same. Yeah. And like it, you know, it was monotonous, and I would run out of jokes to say, but like, I forget what I was saying.
Well, let me ask you, were there other directors that you thought about, like?
No, this is why it was such a specific goal. Yeah. He was supposed to shoot at my hometown mall that I literally got arrested in 7th grade. So it was like, I had a connection to this mall.
I want to hear that story, but finish this one first.
My cousin was like, you should tweet at him to like get in his movie. And I'm like, okay. And then and
it worked.
Started doing that. Yeah. And I started with the story of like, I got arrested in the Exton Mall. That's where you're shooting. And like, I'm an actress. I would love to be home with my parents and have them make me breakfast and then go to set. It would just be so cool.
Funny.
And it didn't even end up shooting there. And I was actually tweeting to get into Mallrats 2, which didn't end up happening. So it was like, I actually ended up being in a better movie, which is Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and we shot in New Orleans. So it's like all about patience and not just staying open to what happened.
So I'm so curious, if you don't mind sharing, what did 7th grade Leah get arrested for?
Shop.
Okay.
But I have to know what store. Was it Claire's or Bath and Body Works?
579, very close. Saint Jean.
Oh my God. I know, because I was just going to go or what seal. 579.
I don't even know what 579
They
is.
only had things that were in sizes 5, 7, and 9.
What a weirdly... All right.
Yeah, which I don't think...
My gauge of what that means is I don't know.
I know, but now with body positivity, they couldn't have that
so
store.
Discriminatory. Yeah, I never thought about that.
They could not do that. Well, so my question is, like, if you're guiding people, right, with this idea of like a specific goal, like that's actually one part of manifestation that is difficult for me, because I have a lot of different specific goals. And that's kind of something I'm working with right now too, which is like, what is too many things to have going at once? And what is keeping myself open and utilizing all of my gifts? Because sometimes I'm trying to...
Great question. I don't think you can have too many.
Okay. Well, I like this. Okay. Well, yeah, that's where it's just like, how do you kind of...
Can I offer a counterpoint?
Sure.
I think maybe not having too many might be... I'm not going to argue that, but I would say maybe there's a way to put some on, like, we're not going to worry about that right now, because I feel like one thing you and I, Rachel and I both have, is we sometimes try to take too many and then nothing gets done and then we're like, it's all falling apart.
Well, yeah.
That's fair, but everything leads to something else. So like if you work one job in the industry, then at that job you meet someone who knows someone, and then you'll get another job. And then from that job, that leads to another thing. So like I'm thinking, because for me, one of my big goals is to get an Oscar, and that's been on my list forever. That has never left. So like you could say that's a big goal, but I've had other little goals leading up to that.
Yeah.
Oh no, am I frozen? Even worse.
No,
No, I can hear you.
It did it for a second.
But
But
that, no, see, but I agree. And that's where, so like one of my big goals is to create television. That's what I want to do. Like I basically want to do what like Issa Rae or Lena Waithe does. So I want to create television shows. I want to show run some of them. I want to be in some of them. And right now I have like a plethora of projects that I've completed, which that was the first step of this like action part, right? And now I'm being presented with the part of like, okay, now you've done the work, but now you have to do what's the really scary work, which is put your work out there. So you have to let people find you, right? Yeah. And
that's the accountability part of it.
Yeah. But that's what I love so much about your course, which is I love, especially as like people when we're so busy here, of like you've really broken it down into this really great way to take action on this within 4 weeks. But it's also a course that like you can revisit, which I know I need to send you this of like my testimonial. But what I love about it is it's something that you can revisit over and over. So I just got goosebumps of like, it's never, it's true though. It's never something that will not be a useful tool for you. And I feel like, and I always say in like all of the, kind of motivational work that I put out there is always this idea of like everything is something that can be integrated, and every time you go back, it's like reading your favorite novel, which I don't read, but it still works. Of like every time you, if I did, if I did, or like when you watch your favorite movie, like you go back and you're like, oh my God, I didn't see that part before, or I didn't take that part in. So
thank you. I designed it like in mind of like, oh, I wish I had this.
Yeah.
Before, like. Wish someone had made this for me, which it was out there, but I just didn't know about it.
So what inspired you to kind of take on this project?
Oh my God, quarantine.
Interesting. It's funny you say that.
Just
keep going. Sorry.
I needed something positive to put my energy into. That's really what it was. And so it was like a beautiful distraction. And also it made me feel better about, spending all this time at home, and I wanted to help people.
I think it's great. Yeah, like Rachel has a new like custom floral business she started recently during this. And I was talking with a friend of mine about this, and it's like, in a way, all of this stuff has kind of pushed people to start moving into these projects they were supposed to be doing a long time ago. And we sort of had to have, the economic and social rug pulled out from under us to be like, well, I mean, why not do it now?
Yep. People are being called into action to live the lives that they truly want, which is why I felt like making this course was so divine when everyone's lives are literally put on hold.
Well, and I keep looking at it from a place of like, maybe it's just for me of like my proneness to like anxiety or depression where I'm like, I can't look at everything that I can't do or everything that's being taken away, because that to me is the definition of like a lack mentality. And I'm like, okay, so what do I do have? I do have extra time now that like I don't have to be, waiting tables or editing somebody else's work or whatever the gig is in order to fuel my own projects to get to the next thing. So that's been my main kind of like thing that I've chosen to take the reins on, which is like my most valuable resource is time and the acceptance that like I am my own currency. If that makes sense. I've spent so much time going and like healing my trauma around money, Leah. Like we could spend a whole
let's talk about it. I'm in a Deepak Chopra 21-day like abundance program right now, and I'm loving it.
Okay.
Finish describing that, because I had a thought on.
What's your thought?
Well, my thought is, I know this is a little bit offshoot, but on that note, I feel like we all know about like crypto and it's this new thing. And I think in our lifetime, we are going to see everyone having the ability to make your own crypto, like Rachel Coin, Leah Coin,
well, like an OnlyFans and Patreon, it's basically crypto. It's all the same. It's just different currencies.
And like Rachel calls it energy exchange.
I do, because like right now I have like not a large, but like a relatively large sum of money that's in my Venmo. So from people like Venmoing me right now, that's like what I'm taking mostly for people when they're buying flowers. So like, but then there's also a woman, shout out to Stacia Patwell, who I like work out with 3 days a week. So like there's money coming into it, but then I'm digitally, and then I'm like thank you. And then I'm like, I'm putting money back out to her or like, other projects or whatever. And so that was kind of one of the things that woke me up too. And I will credit you. You are so good about like with all of your art. And again, we'll definitely plug all of that when we wrap, but like all of your art and oracle readings and all of these things of like finding ways to not only monetize yourself and your gifts, but like putting a price tag on them so that you're giving them value. And I feel like
it's been really interesting because I gave some of the like access to the course for free to people, and I've definitely noticed a difference, the people that get it for free and the people that pay for
100%.
it. You show up when you put your money or when you feel like you're truly investing something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a big difference.
We were talking about that because we are looking towards the next 6 months hiring somebody to do like some like 10 hours of editing a week or 10 hours of like social media management a week, because we have basically 4 brands that we're pushing at the moment. And so I was like, let's start to talk about that. So that way that money will find its way to us. And then that way, like if we talk about it, we'll start to see it, manifest itself. And then a friend was like, well, just do interns, like people will do it for free. And I was like, there's something to me about if you're showing up and there's just a difference in energy. If somebody knows.
And it's, you paying is also you believing in your business and yourself 100%. Enough that you're like, no, there is enough money to pay you and for me to get paid from these sponsors.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
My attitude also, and this thought will make sense in a moment, but Rachel and I talk at lengths about how insanely wealthy the hyper wealthy are in this country or in the world, the billionaires. And it's like, how much do you need, man? How much do you need? But anyway, even to us, right? It's like, I don't know what we'll end up being able to pay for someone, but like.
This is why I'm learning poker. I want to hustle all of that.
Yeah, there you go. Molly's game.
But my attitude is like, if we're paying somebody a few $100s a week, okay, so we're going to have to, worst case, maybe like not eat as nice food a little bit here and there. But like, I don't know. I just don't think if I had an intern or someone who was working I know they can get experience and credit and all that. That's great. But if I'm not paying them for their time, like, one, I just think it's immoral, but also how could I ever ask them to do any, like, I feel like I would have to be like, hey, if you don't mind, but also like, I'm not paying you, so it's your choice.
And that's all energy, like how your body is feeling, knowing that you're not paying this person, then that's an energy that you're passing off. Whereas like if it's an equal trade, if they feel like they're being respected by being paid and you feel like you're being respected because they're doing a good job, then it's like, that's money well spent.
Well, I think it's that. And also for me, it's the kind of what you were saying of like, I'm trusting if I'm putting out there like, okay, we're going to pay somebody a decent wage. I mean, obviously it's not like a $30 an hour gig, right? But like we're paying somebody to do work, like it's a fair exchange, that if I'm putting that out there, then that means I trust that my other skills, I will have more money coming to me to be able to then pay somebody else. Like what I'm finding is like, it's not about my attachment to money. It's about my own belief of my worth and value. And so how am I going to ask anybody to take me seriously as a television creator and put me see me when I'm pitching myself to them and they're like, oh, I see what you're saying of like, you know, although my point of view is not that of Lena Waite's, my experience has obviously been different, but meaning like, okay, you have a specific point of view, you know what audiences you want to reach, your ideas are very funny, you know what you're doing, we will endow you with the opportunity. If I'm walking around like, oh, I don't have the money to pay people or don't pay me for my work or I'll work for free, then that's the energy I'm giving off.
There's that.
Exactly.
And for me, there's also a part that I've you know, everybody's hopefully trying to be more aware of just socially and morally about all the things going on in the world. And something that occurred to me when I was thinking about this, when we had this first conversation, you know, there are people out there who might be very great hires, but they truly can't, like they cannot afford to not get paid for their time because they are so poor. Like they need that money to literally just buy food or whatever, like just that basic level. And it's a reminder of like, oh yeah, that's such a like even having the ability to do an unpaid internship, you're already at an economic level of privilege that so many people don't
Point
have.
of privilege.
That like, for me, I'm like, hey man.
I was an intern and I didn't realize that thought until after I was an intern. I was like, damn, that was a lot of free work.
And that has like a ripple effect over time. Like if that person, when they're 18, can't afford to do an unpaid internship, it just dominoes. So anyway.
But again,
I know I'm about to sound like so LA, but it's reminding me of skincare. Like, you go to CVS and you pay like $3 for like a moisture cream that it says is great, and then you put it on and it makes your face break out. That's shitty. But if you actually spend like $60 on something that, it sucks that it's expensive, but it's like actually good for you, won't make you break out. You have to like invest in yourself and tell yourself that you deserve the better face cream. I'm saying this because I need to buy good face cream.
Leah,
my accountability.
You're so right, because like pre-COVID, before we had to shut everything down, I was paying quite a bit of money to go to a very like specialty gym where I was learning a lot of like self-defense type things, but getting a great workout. But my point is, because I was paying such a high rate, I was going like as much as I could. I took it super serious. I was so much more dedicated. And I think, like you said, you have to be willing to realize that when you spend this money on stuff, you're investing in yourself.
But that's first of all, if you ever want to talk offline on skincare, I'm here for that all day long.
Yes.
Because
we're gonna text.
Please do. I'm serious that I also was in that same way of like, okay, I'm wanting to walk into rooms, and it's not about like looking perfect or being a size 0 or like anything like that. But what is my best self? What is my clean face? What is me investing in me so that the full Rachel can show up in a room or in a Zoom or whatever, right? And like, and show up fully. And I think so much of that is about investing in yourself, which all goes back to what you said of like people that paid to invest not only in you, they're investing in themselves and they're showing up. But that's what which
goes back to vision. It's like, you can't, if I didn't actually believe that I could like show up to a Kevin Smith movie and do my job, then I wouldn't have tweeted at him. Or maybe I would have. But like, I believed that I could do that because I envisioned myself doing it, and then it came to be. So you have to like actually believe in yourself, and that is not pretty work. It's not all like rainbows and sprinkles. This is like tough,
and it's hard.
Real shit.
It's hard out here in LA because we are I feel like if you work in the arts in any capacity, stand up, acting, whatever, right? We're constantly throwing out like, hey, this is the most important thing in the world to me.
Hey, here's my heart.
Yeah.
Want to judge it?
Compare it to other people who
Feels like speed dating all of the time.
And then it's like, what do you think about it in comparison to some of the other best people in the game right now? You know, it's like it's so insane that we do this.
But that's so much of, I think, what I'm trying to learn as well, which is like, what are the ways, mostly so with this idea of like continually showing up, right? When you're talking about like creating this vision, which is what I'm finding for me that keeps coming up is like anger. I'm like fighting a lot of this anger from like not feeling.
Is it
well,
at someone else or is it at yourself?
I think it's just this feeling of like.
Well, can I, as someone who knows you very well and loves you dearly, can I comment where I think it comes from?
Okay.
I think it comes from two. I think it comes from two places.
Okay.
I think a little bit of it is you looking back at your younger self, being like, why didn't I make better choices?
Sure, valid.
At certain times. But again, you were younger. You learn from life and you're much wiser now. And then I think the other part is anger at the universe, because I hear you say very often, I am showing up, I am doing the work, I am here to succeed. And then you're just kind of like, I am ready. And I see how, and you are working incredibly hard on all of these things. And it's almost like, you know, you're on the tarmac, the plane is ready to go. It's like, just let us take off. Everything is ready. We're here. We've been waiting. The plane is fueled up. The pilot is ready. We need to go. And like your career, like, you know, it's not that it's not taking off. I mean, we're getting there, but you're just like, come on. And, you know, you're looking back at yourself like, man, if I didn't miss that first flight, I would have been so much higher up in the air right now.
But that's so much of this idea of like patience, where I have to keep going. Well, because I think that anger, certainly all of that of what you're saying, Alex, is valid. But I think it's more of that, this is like dialing into, again, what I identify as like the universe, which is, okay, I've taken the bait, I've followed the leads, I've followed myself, I've done what I'm supposed to. And then, I feel like it's like, you know, somebody who's like, oh my God, I would love to go out with you again. It's like, yeah, this would be great. And then you show up and they like stand you up and you're like, what the heck?
It's like every audition I've ever gone on.
You know? But I just kind of have to keep going back to, well, something that keeps coming up a lot for me now in meditation is like, you're so close. You're so close.
Yeah.
And so it's like, whether that's my consciousness, like not wanting to give up, but I don't think it's that. I think it is this of like, okay, just because you're ready now, like doesn't necessarily like just keep going.
Yeah.
There's no end goal, even though like I think there is. It's like this will constantly be a journey. And so we invite you to like take a seat, get comfortable here.
So relate to that feeling, especially this year. I was going to have like a huge milestone. I was going to be in a movie that was going to be showing at South by Southwest. And I thought that was going to like change my career.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit and South by didn't happen. And it's just like, whoa.
But, you know, you also don't know, maybe there's some benefit coming later because of that we don't see at the moment.
Yeah. And I think acceptance is a huge part of this. And I mean that for me and you, Rachel, and Alex. I'm sure you, we all have something, right?
You know,
that we're like trying to fight against and don't want to accept.
Well, and that's the other part for me, which is like, I think when Alex talks about this part of me of like my past self, right? It's like, there's also a part of me where I remember I'm like, okay, so you've been booze free for 2.5 years, which means that probably for about the last year, I've been hyper focused. Now, I was still working for over a decade. So sometimes it feels like I've been doing this for almost 12 years now. Like, why is it not, you know, why isn't Rachel LaForce Studios yet, right? But then the other part's like, okay, all of your experiences there, but this real focus and vision has only come into light in like the last year. And also it's like, you know, I've let go of a lot of titles I used to give myself. Like I've let go of stand-up comedian. I've let go of like a lot. And that's not to say that those aren't parts of me, but allowing myself, like talk about that acceptance. I'm getting goosebumps again of like the amount of grief it's taken for me to be like, maybe you're not like a sitcom actress. Well, how does that feel, Rach? What does that feel like? And like accepting all these things of like, we can't give you what you want until you're right in alignment. So you are so close, but like you got to keep letting go of things that don't service you. You got it. Like you're there. And so it's like,
well, I think that's so good about this time now is we are able to try and do so many things as creators.
right.
We have the ability. I mean, even like what we're doing now, like a couple years ago, this wouldn't even, I mean, I know podcasting's been around, but the like way we're doing it at this level, like this would not have even been a thought. They're like, oh, let's try our own like internet radio show and just see if we even enjoy it and where it's going. Which, speaking of, I know you got to go in like 8 minutes, but your podcast, Basic Witches, let's talk about that. We love having other podcasters on here. So you guys have been doing incredible. You just had a big milestone, right?
Yeah, we just hit over 200,000. Yeah, thank you. We've had some incredible guests. We recently had Margaret Cho. That was just like...
Well, real quick, so tell folks who might not know, what is your podcast? What's the kind of the premise?
It's called Basic Witches. It's a comedy spirituality podcast, and we interview, quote, pro witches and other just celebrity artists, people, comedians about spirituality and witchcraft and feminism and sexuality and all that good stuff.
I dig it. It's been what, 2 years? 2 years?
About 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About 2 years. And we pull a card for each of our guests. And I can remember like a lot of the cards. I forget, Rachel, what did we get for you?
I had like a goddess card.
Irene?
And it's so funny. I had like an oracle, or it was like a goddess card. And so it was literally, which A, I'm a Taurus, and B, like everything that I look back on now over the last year has been like floral, or like I've gotten a lot of abundance cards, and it's always like outdoor and like florals. And so I have a screenshot of like of that day. I should have pulled it up earlier. But yeah, it's just like a goddess surrounded by flowers.
Wow.
So
See, all of our readings are like so just spot on. It's literally magic, and we capture it on video, or so what's this called? Audio.
Yeah. well we're on video too. But everybody listening, if you go onto like the Apple Podcast app or whatever, if you type Rachel's name, Rachel LaForce, you'll see the Basic Witches episode come up that she was on. There's also Rachel LaForest, who is the co-host with Leah, not to be confused with Rachel. Yes, there is a Rachel LaForce and a Rachel LaForest. Not related, but both equally funny and talented.
Which I love so much. But I think all of your work is so great. And like I said, thank you so much for like giving us some of your time and being patient with us today. And I will definitely send you my testimonial as well for your course. And I think it's phenomenal. And I think
your skincare tips.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So many. I've tried so many fun new things. And I love skincare. So tell us everywhere that we can find you. How can we invest in you? How can we reach out and learn more about all of the work that you're doing?
Thank you. You can follow me on Instagram at Leah Canauer, LeahKnauer, and go to www.leahcanauer.com. That's where I sell my art, and we sell Basic Witches merch there. We have an upcoming full moon circle, which is all virtual, and you can sign up for my course there. Whoa, manifest some shit.
I love this. I love this so much. Well, thank you again.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yeah,
thank you.
Leah, it was great.
Thank you so much for sharing. And it's always like so nice to have a fellow witch to talk about the universe with Alex. So I appreciate
I didn't break
it.
any of your house rules. I didn't even ask what the house rules were.
No, it's really just
rude
have fun.
house guest.
No, I feel like
we started a bit early on. Like there was a couple house rules. I forget what they were though. It was like
clearly the bit stuck. Yeah,
they were silly. One of them was like be original, be authentic.
Oh yeah. Well,
no hate speech. It was like I feel
like pretty obvious things, you know.
But anyway, Leah, this has been great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we will tag you in all of the episodes and everything like that, so everybody can find you. But enjoy dinner with your boyfriend, and please enjoy the rest of Molly's game. Yes. And I will text you later, and we can talk about skincare.
I love it. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
For you guys in the live stream, Rachel and I are going to hang out for a few minutes after and do some other stuff. So thanks again to Leah.
Bye, Leah.
We'll see her later. But okay, so that was fun.
That was fun. Now, and it was really fun because I was a little nervous I wasn't going to be able to stay awake for it.
I know. Okay, well, let's fill in our loyal...
Can I tell my version of the story and then you can tell your version of the story?
I'll just say, yes. Okay, I'll say Rachel and I are exhausted. We got very little sleep last night. So, Rachel, why don't you tell our House Rules viewers and listeners what happened?
So we're just sleeping, and then all of a sudden I heard what I thought was a baseball bat like fall. You know, when like if you throw a baseball bat like down to the ground and there's that like echo kind of.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. And so then in my mind, I heard that, and then I just heard Alex scream. And so I jumped out of bed screaming as well. That was what I thought happened.
Okay, that's a little bit accurate. My recollection, I don't remember. I do remember hearing a bang of some sort. I don't remember hearing a bang and panicking. I just remember hearing a bang. You know when you're half awake, you have like super quick thoughts, and I thought like something fell over, and then I felt just a hand slapping me in the face, just hitting this hands just hitting me super aggressively, and then Rachel just like ah. And one of them hit me in the eye. Oh, you're snorting now. This is hilarious to you. And it wasn't once. It was like 5 or 6 hits to the face directly.
Well, I think what happened was our arms must have been, so we were not like big cuddlers, right? But like, so once we go to sleep, it's kind of like we'll cuddle and then we're falling asleep, right? And then you do the rollover.
Yeah.
But sometimes we'll still kind of like just intertwine our hands or hold hands or something.
Yeah.
So I think we'd fallen asleep with like the hand situation. So then when we woke up, it was like I felt a hand. So then I thought someone was like attacking me. So then I start railing against you.
So the one person in the house who could defend you is the person you attacked.
Well, I didn't know I was attacking you. I mean, again, it's like also, like, can you blame me all the time? You're like, we have to have defenses in the home. People can come in at any time. We must not let our guard down. So, of course, I heard a baseball bat. I'm like, it's happening. You
But you were hitting me.
Well, I didn't know.
You should have woke. Well,
dude,
okay.
I took a melatonin and like passed out. I was not prepared. So then we figure out that it's not. We're not under attack because he's just going, you knocked something off the bed and you're punching me. You scratched my eye. So then I'm like still super delirious, like not knowing what's going on. Alex is now stormed out of our bedroom and is sleeping on the couch. And he's like, I need space. You scratched my eye. I'm still so delirious. And I'm like, knocked something off the bed. What is he talking about? Then to go out into the other room. And I rearranged finally our home from like all the iterations of things being everywhere with the flower cart and everything. So was finally kind of had everything up and together. And there's one piece of art that I have that's like made out of like a wooden piece. And so when that fell to the ground, but it took me so long to figure out what it was. And I was trying to explain it to you and you were like, go away.
I was not in a good mood.
You were not happy. I mean, which is fair. I scratched your eye.
And I got woken up suddenly. And if the thing had just, I believe if the thing had just fallen and I would have woken up and been like, that was weird. And then I would have probably checked it out and then gone back to bed. It was your, that like made it everything. I'm not blaming you, but I'm not blaming you.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, you know.
But fair, listen, I would much rather that happen. And then now when an intruder, well, not when. I'm not going to put that out there.
Yeah. Well.
God forbid if we ever have an intruder, we'll know how to. There was a dry run, and we were not prepared.
Well, I told everybody, America's favorite writing partner, Casey Navarro, I told her that when I went to work out this morning, because I was not in a good mood.
Yeah.
And I was like 2 minutes late, and she was like, dude, what's up? Because we were like sitting in on this panel this morning, and she was like, dude, what's up? And I was like, it's fine. And like, just it took me a minute to like, get my mind right. She was like, what's up, dude? And so I told her what happened and she started laughing. I thought she was like laughing on my side. And she goes, yeah, you're like a demon in your sleep. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I think you've hit me every time that because I lived with her for like the last few months before I left Chicago. So I got rid of my apartment and we were both on tour at the time. So very rarely, but occasionally we would be there and then we would both like sleep in her bed. And apparently I abused her.
I love you more than anything, but you have this quality about you.
Okay.
Where the things that you get most annoyed by with other people, or at least with me, you tend to do quite a bit yourself. Okay? Like making noises in the microphone. You don't like when I do that.
I know that one was on purpose because I knew what you were going to say.
So, for example, right, you're always...
Oh, there's examples.
Yes.
Oh, this is fun for everyone.
So, for example, right, a lot of times you'll be like, you hit me like, Bubby. She calls me Bubby, by the way. It's like a pet name she has for me. She's like, stop fidgeting. You're moving around too much. And I don't bother you because I want you to get your sleep. You toss and turn and fidget constantly. Now it's not just me, but Casey, your dear friend, your maid of honor, also confirmed this. So we have 2 verified accounts that you in your sleep toss and turn.
Here's the deal.
What's the deal?
We just got to find a bigger apartment and we're going to get a king bed and all of our problems will be solved.
Yeah, one day.
I do think that I will sleep like I will tell you, like, what makes me work really hard is the thought of being able to have a king bed and actually like sleep through the night, like soundly. That is something that I am certainly working my way towards. That's very important to me.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. I mean, we've talked about this. This might be a little too inside for our non-LA listeners, but our city is not doing well.
It's not great, guys. It's not great out here.
We live in Hollywood, and it's getting worse. I want to ask our engineer, Taylor, where do you live?
Hollywood.
So
You're okay. So you're in West Hollywood
so
too.
she lives in West Hollywood, which is basically Hollywood too, and
just
it's
west of Hollywood.
It's like, listen, it's super expensive, and when stuff was open, it was like, okay, you pay this exorbitant amount of overpriced rent, but you're near culture and art and so many cool things, and there's comedy shows and there's concerts and there's so much just incredible stuff here. Now everything is closed. There's way more homeless people, so there's trash everywhere. No one is cleaning up anything. The Citizen app, which is like the crime alert app, is blowing up constantly, and it's just like, what's going on? What are we doing? There's no end in sight. This place is falling apart.
Listen, I'm just here to sell flowers and keep eating matcha ice cream. You know what I mean? Those are my goals.
I mean, I think those are great goals. I don't know. I told her, we were hanging out with our dear friend Emily Browning that, not soon, but there could be a time where we go back to Georgia, hypothetically.
Right.
If Georgia had better laws on women's bodies and cannabis, I would be like, all right, I'm all in. This is great.
Well, I mean, again, we were talking about real estate this morning, and wherever you're listening to this, I'm sure it's also, unless you're like in a suburb of Cincinnati, Ohio, you probably can relate to the fact that like everything is just exorbitant right now.
Yeah.
But that's what Emily and I were talking about. We were looking and like talking about different, places to live, et cetera. And I was like, but even if it was like, okay, this is affordable, like this is something that we can do. I'm like, oh, actually, let me tell you about it. It's not affordable. It's not, we could pay for it, but that is not at all, like, it's not affordable. You know what I mean? A 3-bedroom, 2-bath home that needs renovation should not be $800,000.
See, I think if we wait it out, we're going to have to wait another 6 months to a year. Property values are really going to go down here. Listen, I
hope you are right with every fiber of my being, because I would love to be able to like get pregnant knowing like, okay, cool, we're good. You know what I mean? But I'm like, I don't know, dude.
You know what? So here's another idea I want to throw in your ear to consider. Okay.
All right. I'm listening.
Because this is what we know. We know.
Why do I feel like you're going to pitch me living on a boat or something right now?
No, it's not that insane.
Okay.
But this is what we know. We know that for your career, and for a chunk of mine too, what I'm doing, even though mine's going to be a bit remote, but for you, with the main focus being show running, writing television, with me, the main focus being more podcasting, hosting, podcast producing, this area of the world we need to be in, at least within a short drive.
Correct.
However, you and I both want to get away from all this. We've become more a fan of nature, being kind of away from all the chaos. And
are we moving to Joshua Tree?
I'm just saying, what if we tried it? Hold on. What if we tried it for like half a year?
Yeah, I wouldn't say no to that. Are you kidding?
Because think about it.
Are you being serious right now?
100% serious.
Okay, this is a serious conversation you want to have on the podcast, IRL, right now, streaming live.
Why not?
I've never heard you say this.
I just thought about it today, honestly.
I would 100% do that.
Because think about it. We're a 2-hour drive. Because if we don't need to come into this part of the city every day. If we have to come in like once a week or so, or maybe even twice a week, it's doable. It's a little annoying, but it's doable. Plus, my brother, Uncle Scott, he's got a place with a guest room. If we got to stay overnight for something, he lives in the valley. We can make that happen.
Which the valley sometimes feels like Joshua Tree, especially right now.
I'm just saying, listen, we're going to do a little staycation pre-wedding, you and me, out in the wilderness of Joshua Tree.
Right.
I bet you we could find a really cool kind of rundown house, flip it, fix it up.
Okay, I thought you were just going to leave it at rundown. That's okay.
And then when things hopefully go back to the way they were, we've got this second piece of property that we
What a Cinderella story.
We can Airbnb it out.
This is not a bad idea, and I don't want to get excited about it because I still can't tell if this is a bit.
No, I'm being serious. I'm dead serious.
Okay, well.
The only thing that would make it complicated is if we.
Is your dad listening right now? Can he weigh in?
I don't think he's watching.
Okay.
If you guys are watching, we've got a few viewers right now. I see Todd Verono. I think he's still watching. Todd,
We miss you so much, by the way.
I got to give a shout out to Trudy, by the way. Trudy's so lovely. She said she loved the conversation with Leah.
Oh, thank you, Trudy.
And guys, just as a reminder, we do this every Monday live on Skewed Orbit Facebook. Just go to the Skewed Orbit Facebook page. That's the easiest way to watch the live stream. Just follow it. I think I'm going to start making events. You know, you can make an event.
Well, and like we said, if you are a manifest generator in any way, if you believe in the power of prayer, keep sending us some good vibes, because we are certainly working towards, as we're kind of building Skewed Orbit as our production company and working on all these things, we are looking to bring people, quote unquote, into our orbit so that we can be doing more to set up these events and get more clips out and all this good stuff. So it's certainly on the up and up.
And my only concern with
we're going back to Joshua Tree?
Thank you for all that.
Okay, yeah.
Well, my only concern with being in California long term, I mean, you and I, we align pretty well about half of our political views, right? I think socially, what's so funny?
That's just hilarious. Yes.
So I think socially, we pretty much agree, like we're right there together. Like marry who you want, support that.
Right, social issues.
Live your best life.
Sure.
It's nobody's business but yours and your family, I suppose. Cannabis, we're big fans, and I think we'd like to see a little bit better criminal justice reform in the state and country. But I think California's a little better than other. I haven't done enough research. Anyway, my only point.
Keep it moving, Gitlin.
But what I'm concerned about, my big concern, is our taxes here are insane.
So but then that's saying that you don't want to stay in Joshua Tree. I feel like now the listeners, they're going, are you going to J Tree? What's happening? Do you know what I mean? Even Taylor, she wants to come, okay?
She can come. I'm just saying, 13% is already pretty high.
Oh, that's insane.
Now they want to retroactively raise it to 16.8%. That means if you make $100,000 a year, the government of California steals, and I'm using that word steals, $16,800 from you and your family.
But that's the thing. What's so insane is and even being in Atlanta for the 3 months that we were there, where it was I've always lived in expensive cities. Weird brag. I've always lived in expensive cities, so thank you. But I forget.
What character is that?
But there are places, I don't know, her name's Chelsea. But I do forget.
Wait, Chelsea, where have you lived?
Okay, I've lived so many places, Alex. So first of all, my dad has 4 houses. But he also has 3 different wives, but I don't want to talk about it. It's totally cool. My therapist is really cool and she gets me Klonopin. So
okay. Chelsea, what's your favorite expensive city you lived in?
Oh my God, are you kidding? Beijing. Everyone loved me there. They thought I was a celebrity.
Oh, international. Okay, so what about?
Yeah, what did you think I was going to say? Nationally? Ew. I bet you've never even been to Texas.
You want TikTok, Chelsea?
Of course I am.
Okay,
it's just me dancing with bags. Okay. Oh, our generation. Okay,
no, that's not us. That's Gen Z.
I love how quick you're that's not us. Okay, so let's
We
wrap
are
up.
not the TikTokers. That is the kids below. Okay, I'm sorry.
We've gone off the rails. Okay. So let's hone it back in and let's wrap it up. So with Joshua Tree,
yes.
I think we should continue to talk about this. And I think we should, now the listeners want to know. I mean, we have spent a solid 15 minutes talking about it.
Well, let's do this. If you guys are listening, whether you're watching the live stream, you listen to the pre-record later, if you have any thoughts, honestly, if you think we should leave Hollywood, move out to the desert, maybe not Joshua Tree. I mean, I like Joshua Tree, but maybe just somewhere, Joshua Tree, even Palm Springs, perhaps, somewhere that is...
I don't think Palm Springs is going to be more affordable.
No, I know. I mean, not Palm Desert, maybe. Somewhere that's sort of... There's some civilization around.
Okay.
Just enough, right? But we can still just be, enjoy our lives.
I mean, listen, if you want to buy a property in Joshua Tree and we leave there until they're Rachel, we want you to come and, work for the showrunner and, I have to come into the city.
I did think of one problem. It would be pretty tough to do the flower business out there. Oh. We'd have to just drive in once a week to do that. So that could be...
Gosh, this was such a perfect plan until then. Why didn't you preface that?
I just thought about that. So we would have to really alter it. I mean, listen, well, what we would do, I guess we would drive into LA and do limited flower stuff, I suppose, or...
Guys, if this is anything, let this be a lesson to you that nothing is perfect. You know what I mean? If you are looking for an angle, don't look for obstacles. You know what I mean? Anything you want, you can't have.
Well, no, hold on. Let's bring Leah's conversation back into this. Let's manifest a way to do this.
Well, I have been. So I was also I was gifted her workshop, and so I have been like working through it, and that was one of the things I've really been working on is this idea of vision. So not only like within myself of like, you know, I've been like really upping my game of working out and really like strengthening my body and like having a very clear visual of like, what do I want? What is my healthiest, strongest, most capable body? What does that feel like to be in that body? Like not even just like envisioning, but like embodying it. What does that feel like to have like peak energy at, you know, 34? What does that feel like? And then I feel like additionally, it's, you know, I kind of walk around like our house now too, even like envisioning it of like, okay, what would I want my kitchen to look like? What do I want? And some people would be like, reach for the stars. Like, what's the biggest thing you want? And it's like, I always look at my goals of like, I know what the big goal is, but now I'm like, what is the next one?
Yeah.
So that way, because sure, somebody could be like, don't block your blessings. You could manifest, you know, a $2 million home. And it's like, no. Let's focus on like, what's the next thing? So I think that that's totally doable. And I would love for us to kind of, you know, come in together on a visualization of what is the next place that we want to live and like get pregnant and raise a baby.
I think out in the Joshua Tree area, we should think about it. I like, it's cool out there. It's beautiful.
Well, it's not cool, but yes.
Because it's the desert. No, but it's beautiful.
Rachel, you're so funny.
Well, that's one opinion. But look, it is super hot. But, you know, you and I love being out in nature. It's quiet.
Amen, man.
It's serene. And it's still...
Listen, you want to take this little like earth baby here and put me in the middle of the desert? I'm totally on board.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're going to revisit that. We're going to wrap up soon. But I do want to tease next week.
Okay.
So... Guys,
I'm really excited for this.
If this all goes according to plan, because people's schedules change, but we have planned next week. You know, this is a fun thing with our guests coming in. The only thing better than being in a comedy power couple is teaming up with a comedy power couple. And we have another duo, Max Kesterbaum and Stacia Patwell. I think I got their last names correct.
Yep. Nailed it.
Super confident in how I said it too. They're coming in. They do a bunch of cool. They're like us, where they also are podcasters, and they've got like 10 projects going on. And we're gonna talk about a lot of cool stuff. I know Stacia, she is probably single-handedly responsible for you working on your booty, right?
Yeah, dude. School of Taught.
I know. It was just funny because the other day you were like, "Wow, I like have a butt now." You were like so proud of yourself.
I do. I'm like, you know. Well, it's interesting because like other parts of my body either like are longer or they've already like been slightly muscular, so I haven't like noticed as quickly. But I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, man, she is the real deal. Real deal.
And Max, I can't wait for him to talk about this on the podcast. The short of it is, Max had an outdoor comedy show, social distance, masks, all the good stuff to be safe in West Hollywood. And after one show, the city shut it down. And he is personally fighting right now with, I shouldn't say fighting, he is advocating responsibly with West Hollywood City Hall to try and find a compromise to allow social distance outdoor comedy so we can all just have a little bit of fun.
And I also love, because if Stacia was a brunette, I feel like her and Max would be like the bizarro version of Alex and Rachel. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Max and I look alike.
I know, Stacia and I don't look anything alike.
Nah, not really. But yeah, you guys, I feel like Max looks a little bit more, we're both Jewish.
Yeah.
But he looks a little bit more of like the Middle Eastern Jew.
Yeah.
Where I look a little bit more of like
But you guys like for sure look like if you stood together and talked like this, I would maybe believe you.
Yeah, we look like we're in like the Israeli like
100%.
Secret Service. Yeah.
100%.
Both.
And Stacia and I just look like we've like outgrown like, you know, drinking at bars. That's which I think actually we're both sober. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah, you guys are. She is too. And then Max and I we're both like balding, shaved head dudes. We've got some muscle, but we've also got some belly with a little bit of pudge. You know, we're like just kindred spirits.
You know what I mean? Well, I'm super excited to have them on next week. They are both individually balls of energy. So I think that will be a really good time. But again, you guys, thank you so much for listening. And again, please go and check out Leah. There is so much. And check out Basic Witches. So much insight there. And certainly if you subscribe to, the power of your mind, or the secret, as it were, please go and check all that out. Also, she has like incredible, really cool art. Again, that's like like incredibly reasonably priced. So go and check that out and support and invest in her and invest in yourself and buy some new art. This was great, guys. Maybe next week we're actually going to be live streaming from Joshua Tree. Who knows? A lot can happen in a week.
Very unlikely. We'll probably be right back here.
We'll probably be right back here. Yeah. Yeah.
But I would, you know what? One day I would dig it if we had a studio at our home in Joshua Tree. So sometimes with guests, we're out here. When it's just you and me, we do it at the home studio in Joshua Tree.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
I'm into
it.
But
with that, guys, we will see you next week. Thank you again. As always, like, subscribe, share. You're the best.
I'm Rachel LaForce.
Oh, I'm Alex Getland. They know that.
You guys, this has been House Rules. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.